How's it going? This is Keanu Yamamoto with the Coachers Podcast, sitting here with Coach Vinnie Johnson, O-line coach for Louisiana Tech football. Coach, thanks for jumping on. Please tell us about your family, journey, background, all that good stuff.
My pleasure, man. And very excited to be here today. Like you said, I'll start off with my family. Recently got married about 3 weeks ago. She's a girl who's actually, Coach Yamamoto, and I'm blessed, man. She's been foolish enough to follow me across the country and into 4 different places. But, she's an amazing woman, and I'm very excited to start a family with her here soon. I'll talk a little bit about the coaching journey now. It's been really cool. I've been able to move all over the country. I was able to do something similar when I grew up. And so I was able to get started at Murray State as a video coordinator and defensive analyst just to get my foot in the door. A coach that I worked with, the Cal, was able to get me over there. And so that was a great opportunity. And after that, Troy Taylor, really prominent coach in the Sacramento area where I played high school ball. He got promoted to the head coach at Sacramento State. The quarterback's coach, Bobby Frescus. I played for him when I was in high school, and we had a relationship, so was able to get my foot in the door there as the offensive graduate assistant, working primarily with the offensive line. And it was great, man. I got so much experience there, and we got to win a lot of games. I would say that's where I started to really learn how to become a coach, what it takes to be successful. Chris Richardson was offensive line coach again, someone that I knew a lot about from his time as the offensive line coach and co-head coach at Folsom High School, and the success that they had over there. It was an amazing opportunity to learn from him for 3 seasons. 2020, we didn't play because of COVID. Coach Taylor gave those guys the opportunity to stay healthy and get a lot of practice opportunities in, man. But, we were able to win 2 Big Sky championships after. I want to say they won 2 games the year before we arrived. And after that, in 2022, was able to have an opportunity to join the Boise State staff and, get to some FBS football. I thought that was an opportunity to, again, get around an offensive line and a group that I knew. It's the winningest program in the last 25 years of college football, man. I mean, there's people there and it's a place that changes you. I mean, like the blue collar mentality is really true. So I always tell people, if you have the opportunity to get up there and learn and be around that culture and those people, you should do that, man. I mean, it's funny when you look at the men that were graduate assistants with us there. I mean, I'm the offensive line coach here. Keith Price is the wide receivers coach at UNR, and Jabril is the DMs coach at Boise State. You have your podcast going and you're making your way. I mean, it's the success that we've all been able to find. Again, it begat itself. So really cool to be around those guys for a year, and then had an opportunity to go to Kansas State as a graduate assistant. And, it's funny a little bit, again, just talk about the whole journey. I interviewed during our time while I was at Boise State for the O-line coach at NAU. That was probably my first time interviewing for my own position room, and didn't get it. Coach Flugad and those guys said they wanted someone with more experience, which completely made sense. But, I kind of knew that I had the Kansas State deal in my back pocket. So was really excited to be able to get over to learn from Colin Riley, who was the offensive line coach there. And I'm drawing Colin Kahn. Oh my goodness. Who was the offensive coordinator there then, and to be around those 2 guys and Matt Middleton and Brian Anderson, so many guys who'd won so many football games that were coming off of a Big 12 championship, and to see the way that Colin called plays and the way that Connor coached the offensive line and handled his business. Again, to see where they are now is no surprise to me. And again, I definitely would say that learning from them definitely rubbed off on me and helped me out. From there, I was able to go get my own room at Division II school, Wingate, in the Southern Athletic Conference. And, we were down there for about 8 months, literally. But man, what a journey it was. It was amazing because we were able to win a conference championship. We went 9-2, if I'm not mistaken. And, one of the offensive linemen I coached there ended up getting recruited to the Division I level at Liberty, and he's doing really well for himself. And, we saw a relationship, and, it's really cool, man. Then my offensive coordinator from college, Tony Franklin, one of the best offensive coordinators in college football history. He reached out to me and said that, they had an opportunity for an assistant offensive line coach, and it would be for lack of a better way of putting it, a lot of responsibility. And I was excited about that, to get back to this level of football. And, I knew that this staff was kind of on its last legs, if you will. If we didn't win enough games, we were going to get fired. That was something that I've never had to really deal with, with the staffs that I was on. And so it was a great opportunity and challenge. And I was excited to kind of play my role in that and try and win as many games as possible. And we found a lot of success, and I made some great relationships here. And, Coach Franklin stepped down and is doing some different things now around some family and, handling some things that way. But I'm really excited to be the offensive line coach here after getting promoted in February. Again, we were able to retain some really amazing players that, again, give us an opportunity to do some amazing things as we join a new conference this year. So,
No doubt.
I'm sorry I was a little long-winded, but again, it's been an amazing journey, and I wanted to make sure I paid my respects to all the places and people that I've been on.
Yeah, no doubt. That is a good journey right there. Do me a favor, Vin. You got to go hat back for me because I think your hat's blocking the sun low, and then
Okay,
maybe come a
sorry.
little closer to the camera so I can see your
Yep.
pretty face. There we go.
Okay,
There he
sorry
is.
about that. Yep.
Hey, one thing, I love about your journey, right? When you were talking about it and just from knowing you, just a quote, sometimes you have to go back to go forward. And I think a lot of people, once they're at the FBS level, I think there can be a little hesitancy to go and take a D2 job, to take an NAIA job, to take a Division III job, even though it means running your own room. What was kind of your thought process, when you took that Wingate job?
That you were absolutely right. I was no different than anyone else. I definitely had people telling me like, hey man, you got to be careful going down to that level. How are you going to get back? Blah, 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 blah. And it's funny. I think about some of the lessons again that we learned when I was at Boise State about outside noise and rat poison. I was like, hey, I kind of believe in myself and my own ability. The other thing is I think I had made enough connections at that level and done a good enough job for the people that I had worked for that I really did believe that it was going to work out for me. And so I would also tell people, do it. If you've never gone down to that level of football, you are missing out. It is one of the best things for you. You get to be so creative. Not that the results don't matter, but there's not as much pressure on the results. You get to be about the kids. There was no one on our roster getting paid a bunch of money and doing it for the wrong reasons. That was hard to manage. Like those kids loved football, man. And it was so great to be around them and they wanted to be coached and be great. And again, to be able to make an impact on them and win a championship and, I think teach them some of the lessons that I've learned and not just football, but in life, I wouldn't trade that experience for anything. Again, I do believe that there needs to be a way to for some of the economics from this level of football and from the Power 4 football to trickle down, if you will. But I think that level of football always needs to exist. I think their playoff model is incredible. I love it. I think that Division II football, NAIA football, whatever it is, wherever you can get your foot in the door to run your own room, you do it. And I think it was an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, no, I just had a coach on from Missouri last week, and that was one of the things we crossed paths because he was at a Division III school called Pacific up here in the Northwest Conference, and he recruited me a little bit coming out of high school. But he said that was the best thing for him at Pacific because you can experiment things, and your job is not on the line, right?
Absolutely.
You're not gonna get blasted on Twitter from the SEC fans or from the college football fans. Let's talk a little bit about the why. Like, why did you get into coaching? Obviously, you went to Cal. You forgot to talk about your experience at Cal, so you're a freaking smart dude, man. So why coaching as opposed to, just kind of go down the corporate business path?
Yeah. Awesome question. It's funny. The first job I had after college was door-to-door sales. And I actually business to business, I loved it. I was making decent money. The people were nice. I like talking to people. I knew I wanted to be around college football. I didn't know what capacity, not even necessarily college football, but just football. I just didn't know in what capacity. And again, I reached out to Tony Franklin. I'll never forget. I was at a parking lot in a Subway parking lot. And he picked up my phone call like he always does and always has. And he told me yeah, man, I think it's something you can do. You have an offensive line background, you're a minority coach. That's something that people look for. And, again, I thought that was really cool. I wanted to make an impact on young men that looked and felt like me. And, that's really my why, to be able to get out on that grass every day and to be able to be around kids that love football. There's no better feeling to be able to help young men achieve their dreams. And again, these guys are getting paid now, exorbitant amounts of money. It's to see them be able to sign those contracts and kind of go through that whole deal. I mean, there is nothing like it, to be able to serve as I lead. It really is an amazing feeling. I love college football. It was the best 4 years of my life as a player. I made friends. I remember my best friend that gave the best man speech in my wedding. I mean, no exaggeration. That was the best speech I've ever heard in my life. I'm so blessed to be able to have him as a friend and to that he said those kind words about me. And he actually did go the corporate route. He's a lawyer. He just graduated from Pepperdine Law School. And so to be able to have him as a friend and to see that mirror of what it could have been for me, but to know that, again, I'm able to go out on that grass every opportunity I get and work out and be around family and friends in this environment. I'm so blessed that this was the route I chose and that God had this in store for me.
No doubt. Yeah. So Vin and I had We crossed paths at Boise State. We were graduate assistants together at Boise State. And I got a bunch of funny freaking stories about Vin. But probably one of my favorite stories was we would run noon hoops when the coaches were on the road recruiting. We would run noon hoops. And I go down to the training room, and there's my man Vin on his phone with the Norma Tech boots on both legs, pre-noon hoop session. Pre-noon hoop session. You guys still playing? You guys still playing at La Tech? Do you guys play at all?
There you are. Oh, yep. Pre-noon hoop session was the last thing I heard. What'd you say?
Do you guys run at La Tech? Do you got any noon hoops?
So we are not noon ball players. Dude, I am a pickleball guy, and we play post work, and I get after it. So my dad was a tennis player growing up. So I don't know if those genetics, like if the instincts kick in, but dude, I'm on that pickleball court. I feel something. I told you today, I'm playing some more golf now than I ever have in my life. So I have not, dude, I'm not a basketball player. I'm a basketball fan. I was blessed to have a offensive wide receivers GA that was a really good basketball player. So he picked up a lot of the slack. But, again, I have a lot of opinions about basketball, but, again, I won't smoke a wide open layup, but, it won't, outside the 3-point line, I don't need to be out there. I know what my game is. That's not it.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about, your coaching philosophy. What's important to you? What's important to your room?
Yep. Easy. So coaching philosophy, I just listened to John Calipari talk about it. Like everything is about the players. Like, again, I have amazing kids that are so smart and talented. Again, just to name a few that I think people will be watching on Sundays, if I'm not mistaken, Hayden Chrisman and Ashani Cole, Roy Brackens, they're all young men that probably could have gotten a lot of money on the open market that is college football now. And they chose to come back this offseason and be around Coach Young and myself. And we're really excited about them and think they're going to do amazing things for Louisiana Tech this season. Again, I don't know if I ever have a better feeling than when I see those guys succeed. Like when they're able to communicate and when they're able to find the answers. That's what we are, like when we're coaches and teachers. Like we're problem solvers. Like when they're playing in Death Valley coming up this season and it's 105,000 people there, like how are we going to get these problems solved? And I love feeling like that. I believe in flow state. Like success is not something that you find and that you achieve. It's something that you consistently pursue. Because again, if you feel like you've achieved it, you'll become, for lack of a better word, like soft. I think that you should always have goals and the pursuit of something that never stops. And if you have that, then I think, you'll always have something to strive and fight for. And that's what coaching is to me, is always having a goal to pursue and a next objective.
Yeah. That's a great answer, Vin. At what point throughout your career were you felt really good about who you were as a coach, you felt really good about your operation, you felt really good about your process?
Man, I'm still learning it. I'm still trying to make sure that I fine point it, if you will. I'm blessed to be able to have Bill Best as the assistant offensive line coach and run game coordinator here. Like he helps me so much to be able to have somebody that has so much experience in the 20 years that he's done this. And to be able to bounce ideas off of him and techniques that he's done before. But like you said, it's funny. It wasn't until I was at Kansas State as the offensive line graduate assistant, and I thought I was going to get a job at like Mississippi Valley State or something like that, or Eastern Illinois. I can't even remember which one it was. But, it was a job again. When I was at K-State, we had the Joe Moore Award group. Cooper Beebe was an Outland Award finalist. Like I was so positive I was going to be coaching FCS football that next season, and it just didn't happen. And I didn't know how to handle it. I remember calling my dad and just asking, like, is this for me? Like, am I doing this right? Like, I had a lot of doubt actually. And, I just kept fighting. And when I was at Wingate, again, that opportunity to be able to experiment and try the different techniques that I had learned at K-State and at Boise State and at Stack State, like I am a accumulation, if you will, of the best of, Chris Richardson and Tim Keene and Brandon Jones and so many great offensive line coaches and also defensive line coaches that I've been around. I mean, again, like Frank Miley, I don't know if I've ever been around a man who cares more about not only his players, but the program and the people that he works with. Like to be able to see that every day and how consistent he was. And, again, like when I was at K-State, like you see Joe Klanderman, who was the defensive coordinator, and the way that he prepared and there are so many people that I can credit with being an influence on me that, again, but I also know that you have to be your own man. I'm not Connor Riley. I never can be. I never, as many days as I probably wanted to be of like, hey, like you see the success that he has and you want to model yourself after him, sure, but I can't be him. He's an amazing coach, and the things that I've learned from him, I can apply, sure, but at the end of the day, I'm Vinnie Johnson, man, and that's all I can want to be. And the best Vinnie Johnson that I am, I know that's good enough for these kids to be conference champions and achieve every goal that they have.
That's a great answer, Vin. What would you say? Let's go NIL, let's go transfer portal aside. What would you say is the greatest challenge within coaching?
I think the greatest challenge is how can I make myself better every day? Like, again, I especially when I was a young coach, I thought I always had the answers. Like, again, like the reason I did not get a room earlier is God was protecting me and a bunch of kids from a dude who thought he had it figured out and did not and was not ready. Again, I still don't have it all figured out, but now I'm humble enough to know that, and again, feel comfortable and confident enough to call, again, Tim Keene or Connor Riley or Brian LePack and ask a question and say like, hey, I'm going through this. How can I make myself better? And if I'm not operating at 100% every day, then I know my players won't be. And so again, I'm blessed to have so many guys that have so much experience and that I know that I can rely on to answer my questions. But again, to also have the confidence to know like, hey, this is what's expected of me. Like, this is what is needed of me. And I know that I can accomplish that.
Yeah. If I were to come and watch you guys practice at La Tech, what would be some of the takeaways that you want me to see as an observer, as far as just the identity, as far as how you conduct your meeting room, how you conduct your indies, and how you coach on the field?
Fantastic question. Again, I go back to Boise State again. Like, I really believe in like the development of the player should be technique-based, decision-based, and then game-based. Like, and that should happen in the meeting room as well. Like, I think the other thing about me is that football's always been fun. Like you should not be playing this game if you're not having fun when you're doing it. Whether you're on the scout team, whether you're playing 65 snaps a night, like college football is hard. And to be good at hard, you have to go through hard things. So I think that football should be fun. That's the first thing. And whether it's the meeting room and challenging guys with push-up contests or again, getting out there myself and trying to demonstrate drills and showing the guys I still got it, whatever it might be, and let them laugh about that. Like, football should be fun. But it should also be detail-oriented, man. Like, I don't believe in having so many techniques that the guys have to execute that it makes them play slow. Again, I want them to have answers and I want them to have tools in their tool belt that they feel like they can operate. But, I feel like if the players have confidence, they can be successful. College football is like 85% confidence. We're running like the same schemes. We're doing like 80% the same techniques. Like, there are fine details here and there, sure. But again, who has the best players? Like, this is a Jimmy's and Joe's game. And again, like, how can you make sure that your players are having fun and are able to communicate at a high level and, want to succeed? Because again, in my position out offensive line, you have to sacrifice. That's the other thing. You're not going to get a bunch of stats or get a bunch of accolades. Like, if people know your name, sometimes it's not really a great thing during the game. If you're willing to sacrifice and go through hard and finish a little bit harder than the guy in front of you, then again, the results will usually take care of itself. But again, it is the process with our position. But again, if the process can be fun and detail oriented, usually the techniques and the finish take care of themselves.
Yeah, I think there was you talked about a good example of, not getting an FCS job off of Kansas State. Is there any other moment or moments throughout your coaching career where it was like kind of like an aha moment that, really helped shape your philosophy and outlook within the coaching profession?
Yeah, I'd say it was, again, last year, the assistant offensive line coach at Louisiana Tech. When I'm working with Coach Young, we're working with Coach Franklin, and we have an idea of what we're going to do on offense. Again, I'm thinking it's going to be like I was at college, and we're going to throw for 6,000 yards, and we're going to produce a number 1 overall pick at quarterback and all this cool stuff, right? And, it's going to be really cool. We might next season. I think this kid we got and another one they're really good players. So it's going to be exciting for people to watch them and for them to become household names this year. But last season, we finished 25th or 24th in rushing with Tony Franklin as offensive coordinator. You don't really think about that. You think about the air raid. And so to be able to adapt to not only your personnel, but that's the biggest thing about my coaching philosophy is, again, I don't want to get so stuck in my ways or to say that I have all the answers that, that I don't adapt to the players that I have. Maybe, again, when I was at Wingate, we didn't have necessarily the biggest and strongest kids, so you might not be able to run as many gap schemes as you can when you're at K-State and you have Cougar BB and that's your identity. You might be really zone oriented or whatever it might be, or you might be really pin and pull or whatever. Again, like if you can adapt as a coach, like that's when it really clicked for me that, hey, like if I'm doing what's best for my players and giving them the chance to run whatever scheme it is, like like you said, I'm very blessed to have gone to the University of California. Like I was around a lot of really smart people to be able to adapt to whatever situation. Like that's the only reason a guy like me was able to graduate from there. I was a 3.4 student in high school. I'm not some genius, but I'm very blessed to be a smart enough guy to learn from the people around me.
Yeah. Why is football the greatest sport in your opinion? There
is no other sport that takes 11 guys on the field doing their job to be successful. Even in soccer, like it was amazing. I don't know how much of the World Cup you watched. You know me, I'm an anime fan, right? So there's this anime Blue Lock. All right. So they took a bunch of kids in Japan and their goal is to make the best striker in the world. All right. And in Japanese culture, like the idea of scoring goals and doing things for yourself, like that is against like who they are as a people. And so that's why they kind of struggled with that idea and someone playing like that. And so they have this idea of ego and, they're kind of, the story's great if anyone wants to pick it up. But, I think offensive line is, again, like a perfect example of that football, like our football. Again, like if you don't have 11 guys willing to do just what their job is, you won't have a successful offensive play. Whether it's the quarterback carrying out a fake or a read or an offensive line where like if he's supposed to commit to a double team and that's going to create run through and someone else is going to be able to latch onto that on an ISO block, like everyone doing their job is what makes a play successful on offense. Whereas again, in other sports in basketball, like I can have LeBron James, the greatest basketball player ever. I can clear out, dude. I'm going to go get a bucket. And then I can also play defense. Like I can honestly I can impact the game every play on basketball. Again, tennis, amazing sport. Like for an individual to be able to make an impact with just by himself. Baseball, I can hit a home run by myself, or I can be Paul Skeens and pitch 9 shutout, no-hit innings. In football, if 11 guys aren't going the same direction, you will not have a successful result. And again, there's no sport where you practice for less opportunities to play than football. It is a year-round sport. We start in January with workouts. And from January, you go through one phase and then you go to spring ball. And now we have OTAs and we have summer access and that's a phase. And then you go to fall camp and that's a phase. And so when you're going through that, then you finally get to the opportunities to play games. And so again, like it's just an amazing sport that teaches men life lessons. And again, those other sports, I love them. I love it. We are a sports household and I lift up other sports. I really do. But like you said, football is the greatest. And I'm so blessed to have it in my life and be able to teach young men how to play it in the right way.
Man, that was good, baby. I love when you get into it. That was good.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
But I lose sight of that too, especially, being removed from it. You forget how much goes into, 12, 13 games. You forget. You're absolutely right. You look at, professional baseball, you got 160 out of basketball, 80 plus. Like, no, that's a great answer, man. I loved how you put that in perspective right now. If you could sit down with any coach and you have to ask that coach one question, that you're dying to ask that coach one question, who would the coach be? What would the question be?
Okay, I'm going to actually leave football, and I would want to sit down with John Wooden. No, that's not.
That was a good. I liked it though.
I'm going to stick with college basketball. I am, as much as I would love that too. I love John Calipari and the way that he's impact. I want to talk to him, and the question I would ask him is, like, when you talk about pouring into players, like, and again, like it kind of working out for yourself, like, why do you feel so comfortable going into so many kids' different backgrounds, of different lifestyles, and again, talking to their families? Like when you watch like a 30 for 30 on him and like he's willing to go to Marcus Camby's house, he's willing to go to wherever for Anthony Davis. Like, I don't think we necessarily do that in college sports as much anymore with all these recruiting services and everything like that. Like it makes it a lot easier to see kids. Like building relationships is still important, but I think there are a lot of kids that aren't getting the same access to youth sports, and as a result of that, like we are not seeing the same type of players, if you will. Like so many kids have access to private schools and trainings, and hey, this kid has talent, so I'm gonna give him a discount here, and like the kids that like used to like, for lack of a better way of saying it, get it out of the mud. Like my mom and I were just talking about that. If you ever just look at the NBA draft nowadays, so many kids are the sons of former players, and that's great. I think those kids like should have access too. But I want to also make sure that those kids in youth sports that might not have dad at home or whatever it might be, are still getting coached well. And how can we still make an impact on them is what I would ask him. And that might be a twofold question, but again, I'd want as much time around him as possible.
Yeah, no, that's a good perspective, man. Like asking this question, what do you think is an overlooked or underappreciated situation within the game of football?
When you say situation, you mean like during the game, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool.
It could be during the game, or it could be something that, isn't highlighted enough in practice, or isn't practiced enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think situationally, I think one that kind of gets overlooked is second and long. And the reason why is everyone wants to talk about second and short and how it's a shot play and all of that. And like, if you lose first down on offense, like I'll never forget how the BYB and the Boneyard boys were in attack mode. Like, and that makes third down so much harder when the defense has the advantage like that. And so I think when you lose first down and it's second and long, like it's really, really hard as a play caller. Like, I know some guys talk about how they are so like screen heavy. I remember Coach Avalos was like, hey, it's a big RPO down. Like, I think the ability to be able to call a hard ball run and say, okay, I'm going to go get 7 of this and I'll make it third and short that way. If you have that identity is really important. So I think second and long sometimes gets overlooked. I don't know how long people or how often people practice it. I know sequencing downs at K-State was really important for us. So we played second into third a decent amount. But, a lot of people, again, like everyone practices third down. Everyone practices fourth and short. You practice P and 10 or, your first and 10 plays or your script. But when you get off script and it's second and long, like are your kids okay in that situation? Or are they like, dude, let's try freaking over. Like we're behind it. Like whatever, let's just get ready to punt. Like if you can get out of second and long, your drive efficiency will go way, way, way up.
Yeah. That was one thing. I thought we did a great job of it at Boise State. Just like you said, you get into the second down and long pass situations. They made it a point as far as, when you're scripting out a game plan, like you can at times, if it was, pass tendency, once you get in those distance, like you almost treat it like a third down play.
Exactly. And again, like I've been around a lot of really, really good players and coaches like in that combination. And when those guys get to either pin their ears back or get to their blitz packages and treat second and long like third and long, oh dude, it gets dark for you on offense. And so if you can be versatile in that situation and, have some different schemes and some different tendencies, I think that can help you out a lot.
What would you say if you could coach any player, past or present, who would it be and why?
Can I give you 2 answers?
You can give me 2.
So Joe Thomas, because I think that would be the easiest job coaching ever. And I that sounds really exciting. And you know what? I'm just going to give you that one just because Joe Thomas is a good enough answer. But man, that's a sweet job, man. I'll tell you what.
No doubt. Give you a heads up before we got on. So my daughter has a question for the guest of the day. And her question was, what's your favorite holiday?
Okay. So I have a long-winded answer for this, but in our industry, like certain holidays we don't get to celebrate. And some of them are amazing during that time of year. So Thanksgiving, like the idea of that holiday to be able to be so appreciative and give thanks and be around people you love, like that holiday is probably my favorite. We are usually playing a game that week and you hope it's an important game. And so how often am I really locked into Thanksgiving? Not as often as I would like to be. The same would be true for Christmas. Really, I want to be coaching a bowl game around that time. Like if I could be coaching a New Year's Six bowl, like that's awesome. Like I want to be practicing around Christmas. So again, like that time of year is really special for me. I love it. But I think one that I get to celebrate that is really special is Easter. My dad loves that holiday. Easter, he's made it really special for us. The idea of Resurrection Sunday and that being after 40 days of Lent and giving up something you love and it being almost a not a celebration of that, but like celebrating Jesus coming back to life. Like, I think that's really cool. And that's an amazing holiday. And I love that time of year. It usually comes around my birthday. And, again, I love that time, man. Like that'd probably be my answer, that I get to celebrate every year. Again, we'll usually do something where you either get to grill out or go to an amazing meal and take care of family. So I love Easter if I don't get to, but that Thanksgiving, Christmas time, man, when you get to be around family, like that is the holiday season, if you will. That's how I would go.
Yeah, that's a good answer, Ben. Take me through kind of just in season practice structure, just just a brief overview of the week rundown of you guys' practice structure in season.
Yeah. So, I think Coach Cumbie does an amazing job of taking care of our players. Like he and Coach Scholes, the plans that they have, like, we are a Monday practice organization. And so Sunday is all game planning for me. Like it's awesome. Well, sorry. It's all game breakdown from the previous game, but really I did that on Saturday night. Like, and then Sunday is all just game planning, man. Like I that's one of the best parts of this for me. Like I get to play chess versus a defensive line coach and a defensive coordinator and figure out how I can get my best players in matchups and blocks and situations where we're going to win and be able to create explosive plays and touchdowns. And I love that. Like that is, again, what I love about this game. And then, so you get a lot of time to game plan and talk to players about that. And then Monday, again, it's through the morning is the same. You're able to game plan and get your normal downs ready. And then that Monday practice is a lot of correcting review. If the guys haven't watched the game, usually, again, our kids are great. So they usually watch it on Sunday and we'll get them up there Monday. And so you're able to do that. And then you get that Monday practice, just get the guys' legs back under a man. Like, I don't think that should be a beat down practice by any means. Like, hopefully if you have a good head coach, like we do, you're on the field for an hour, your kids feel great, they're loose, and then they go get in the cold tub and go to dinner wherever they can. And then you're able to get back to the game planning process. It's good to, again, be able to get outside and move around and stretch your legs. So, my Mondays, I like for that to be my late night, if you will. I'll work till 10:30. I think that's about as late as I want to go after getting in at about 7 a.m. After that, I'm probably going on fumes a little bit. And, I don't want to be away from Kelsey and the dog too much. So, Tuesday you'll come back to it and it's a heavy practice day. So my plan is so important. That's when my plan goes all to practice. What do my guys need from the game that we just played that I can help them improve upon? And what schemes are we going to see on defense? That is it a 4-down front? Is it a 3-down front? Like, is it going to be a heavy gap scheme week? Is it going to be a man scheme week? A bunch of pin and pull? Like, I want my Indy that day to be really tailored toward that run wise. Pass Indy, I do about the same things every week. Again, we believe in angle sets and setting to cover people up. We believe in independent hands. And so we'll do some strike work and then we'll do some mirror work and we'll do some pressure wave. Like that's really our pass Indy. And we'll do blitz pickup here. And, we have an offensive coordinator that has an offensive line background. So that helps a lot. And so again, I think that is what our Tuesday looks like when I'm doing Indy. And then
sorry, brother, I cut you off. What day are you on? Wednesday, Thursday?
You did not cut me off again. It was so good to see your family. So yes, I think I got through my Tuesday and like the Indy and kind of what that looks like. Wednesday is situational football, man. Like we're going through their third down game plan. Like it is going to be so scheme oriented for my guys. Again, we're going to have pads on. It's going to be uppers, which is full pass for O-line, like we're playing, but full speed movements. Like any of our questions, we want those answered during practice. We don't want to have to try and fix those in the meeting room on Thursday. Like, it's really important that our details are ironed out on Wednesday. Whereas, I think Tuesday is super physical and we're going to have an inside run and we're going to have the right mindset about what practice in the game looks like. I want that Tuesday and Wednesday to be harder than the game. I want those guys ready to operate and be able to go through hard situations. I want them to understand like adversity is going to come. It's like you're not going to win 75 snaps in a row. If you are, like, again, you're making my job really easy and I'm blessed. But, if you're going to win 68, 70 snaps, we're going to have a shot. And if you can get over those bad snaps and figure out what the answers are going to be, we're going to be all right on the offensive line. And that's what Thursday's about. Wednesday is about. Thursday, I truly believe in the no sweat Thursday, that deal. Man, like I do not want my guys out there burning the sweat and tearing themselves down. Like it is all about hydration. It is all about details and a full walkthrough tempo, sure, but there's no physicality to it. Like I want the details again to be so locked in, like zero mental errors. Again, work technique, sure, but like, I want it to be like that you do not break a sweat. Friday, when you have helmets on, yeah, I want you to be in full speed movements, trying to feel some weight on bodies, but again, on air, other than that, just so you can feel those movements and be ready for what's coming. But again, I believe that you should have about 25 snaps full speed, go through the looks that you know you're going to get, whether it's your opening script, your most important third and short plays, and your favorite P and 10 calls. If you have a trick play, work that, and then get off the field, man. Like, do not burn your guys out on a Friday. Feed them good food. Again, we have guys that Coach Schultz takes care of our guys and their bodies when they go to that hotel on Friday night. Like, take care of them. Like, and let that be a time for them to have fun and get them ice cream or cookies, whatever it is they like. And, that's it. And then it's game day, man. I do believe in tips and reminders. Like, I do believe in a test for those guys to be able to do in the hotel. I hope they do it together. They're on the field together. I'm not there. I don't help them at all on Friday nights. Like, again, that's really for me. Like, I love Fridays, man. Like all the work is in. Like, I'm able to go home and see my wife, and again, I'll watch a little bit of film, maybe for 35 minutes max, just to while we have a movie on, just to, again, like, if there's something I can see, just to try and get a little bit extra, but nothing too crazy. I know some guys try and they'll go back in and they'll go back to the lab, if you will, for 2 hours. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna get some sleep. Hopefully, I have a late kickoff and I can sleep well and eat breakfast with the guys and make some jokes with them if it's a late kickoff, and then as we start to lock in, you lock in throughout the day, but if it's an early kickoff, we'll hit it early. Like we're going to go in, we'll go through those tips and reminders in that test, and it's time to play. I don't really mind either one in terms of the kickoff for the guys. So that's the week for me and what the season looks like. I'm a really consistent guy. I go home at night. I'll play one or a Madden game or an NCAA game, college football with some buddies from high school or college, and
you still got your dynasty league going?
Yeah, dude, we got our dynasty, man. That's not going anywhere. And, again, the good thing for me is I'm Central Standard Time, right? So, again, when I'm able to get home at 10, it's only 8 on the Pacific time when my friends are, putting their families down. So it works out really well. I'm able to get that game in on Monday night and move on. But, again, I'm hopefully able to start a family here soon. And so, maybe I might not be able to be in it then, but again, it's a great stress relief, if you will. And, I'm a really consistent guy, man. So I eat the same foods and I wake up at the same times during the week, and, I'll push the wake up back a little bit as the week goes on, but I'm usually in the office about 6:30 Monday, 7 a.m. Tuesday, 7:30 if it works out that week, Wednesday. And then, again, it's cool because our staff has a lot of young kids. So Thursday, they're able to take their kids into school. I'm able to sleep in and come in at about 8:39. And then Friday, it's great. I'm able to go get my haircut. And, I think it's like noon for us if it's not an away game, which is great. So our schedule is great, man. I'm able to be around family a lot. Like I'm so blessed. No complaints.
That's awesome. When you said tips and reminders and tests, I got it. I got a little chicken skin there, man. I remember those Thursdays, we'd just be scrambling to get those freaking things in before we could leave.
The BYB worked a lot later. Even on that day, you guys worked a lot later than we did. So we're an afternoon practice team, though. So
okay.
It's cool. I mean, again, I
was wondering. I was like, man, 7:00, bro. You used to get in there freaking 5:30 at Boise State.
If we were a morning practice team, I'd be on our Boise schedule for sure. It'd be an hour and a half before practice, whatever. And that's when it is when we're in here spring ball. I think we team meet at 6, so I'm in at 5:15, 5:30, and that gives me 30, 45 minutes to get my mind right, to pray and do that kind of whole deal, and then I'm ready to work for the day. So again,
do you like the afternoon schedule better than the morning schedule, or pros and cons for both?
Pros and cons for both. I do believe that I've heard that deal that there's never been an afternoon or a morning practice team to win a national championship. So I don't know if it's true. It's a rumor. It's an SEC or Big 12, whoever rumor. So I've heard that. I do subscribe to that thought during the season. But if during spring ball, you're getting your kids in early and they're getting out and they're able to have the evening time themselves, that's awesome, man. Especially when you're practicing every other day, because then you're able to watch practice, make your notes, get the whole deal done. Like, again, you're able to get home early enough to maybe pick up your kids from school. Like, I love that for the spring. That's how I think it should be, is spring. Get your mornings in so they can do that and have that class schedule available to them. And then during the season, get your afternoons in.
Yeah, no, I like that, Ben. I like that. Is there a drill or team period that you guys are doing or that you're doing now that you wish you did, earlier in your career?
We were heavy outside zone team, true stretch when I was at Cal as a player. I think we were so true, like run off the ball, which is great. I still believe that works. There is nothing wrong with that technique. I've seen a lot of guys have success with that, but I've seen some guys, like we do shuffle drag technique here for uncovered alignment, and it helps them stay square and generate some power. And I do believe that our drills with that and our wide zone and outside zone plays are I think that's like my favorite deal. It helps them a lot. Again, I think back to my time at Boise State and the way that those guys were able to generate angles and do some things like that. So I'd say that technique is something that we drill that I love having in my arsenal that I did not when I was a player that I love.
One of the funny things when I first got to Oregon State, and this is what I loved about being around Mahalichek. For as great as he was, right, he didn't have much of an ego on him. And we were debating in the GA room. You know how you got those GA room debates, and he ends up walking in during the debate. So I'm going to give you the question, and I want to hear what your answer would be. Tell me to distinguish the difference and simplify it between inside zone and duo.
That's easy. Okay. Duo is always run to a tight end. So if you don't see a tight end like in the core, like first of all, you know that that's inside zone. The cool thing about inside zone is you can have different aiming points with it. I kind of learned that this offseason. Like I was always kind of like play side leg of the guard, like play side leg of the center, play side leg of the center, or maybe backside leg of the play side guard for inside zone. That kind of gets to run to the front side a little bit more. It might create a little bit of flow from your backers. I believe that inside zone with no motion is like quite literally the worst play in football. Duo with no motion, I have no problem with. Like you're coming off the ball, you're creating as many double teams as possible. Like that's easy. And then I also, I learned a little bit more about tight zone this offseason. That's kind of just really duo with no tight end attached. Yeah. And we did a little bit of that when we had Taylor and Ashton and George Halani. Like, we had some special backs and we were kind of trying to, we didn't have inside zone, but we had duo read, right? And so I think that's like, you can kind of run inside zone like duo if you want, and then it's same as teaching. But that's the I mean, if there's any difference, like there really doesn't have to be much of one.
Yeah. I messed up. It was actually mid-zone, wide zone. It was the question.
That's what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. It was mid-zone, wide zone.
You want to know my opinion?
Let me get your opinion.
There's absolutely no difference. It's how do you, there's absolutely no difference. Absolutely no difference.
It's just how the defensive GA tags it. That's all it is.
Absolutely how the defensive GA tags it. Like everyone's going to say like, again, we all run about the same thing. We're trying to get one stretch and puncture. Like some people might truly be calling wide zone to circle the defense. And if they're doing that, then that's the difference. Sure. Like mid zone, you are not trying to ever circle the defense. You have a landmark, you're trying to one stretch. You're trying to run to that landmark, stretch the defense, get vertical. But like everything is based off getting to that landmark. Whereas, again, wide zone, they're trying to tell you like, hey, you get one cut, you get vertical. Like they might have slightly different verbiage. Dude, we're all trying to do the same thing. Get the defense to flow, create a cut back lane for the running back, cut the defense in half. Like we have the same goals when we talk about that. Yeah. That's how I feel about it, having worked for multiple different offensive line coaches. Like, again, what techniques do you use to get to your landmark? I think that matters. Are you telling your guys run off the ball? Are you telling them again, shuffle, drag, and stay square? That is also like the technical teaching. That is different. But again, in terms of the play, like, dude, we all have either a wide zone, a mid zone, a stretch, whatever you want, outside zone, whatever you want to call it. You probably only have one of them. You might have two, again, one of them that's truly circle the defense and one of them that's stretch and puncture, but we're all trying to run the same plays and with very similar objectives.
It's been a while since I've asked this question. All right, Vin. So this is a big hypothetical here. Mm-hmm. Okay, you're the OC right now. You're the OC. Okay. You can only go into a game running one formation. You can motion in and out of that formation, but it can't ever go from a 2x1 to a 3x1 structure. What would that formation be and why?
Wait. I just want to make sure I hear you right. Okay, Ian. I think I know what the answer is right now. It's 3x1 nub, tray attached, away. That's my answer. But I want to make sure I'm hearing you right. So I can't go from that to 2x1 or to 2x2 with like
wing set.
If I'm in 12 personnel, that would really fire me up. But also 11 personnel, just zipping the wide receiver across.
Yeah, can't cross the center.
Okay, so I can do jet motion. I can do like jet sweep though.
Yes,
I'm good then. Yeah, that no question. 3x1.
You said nub trips.
Yeah, no doubt. Nub trips. I can put the back in pistol. I can put them sidecar. I can get under center with it. Like
That's my formation. What is the why behind that?
Here's a question for you. Can I get enough trips unbalanced?
No.
Dude, let me play college football. Like that's the best part of college football versus the NFL to me is the formations we can get in. Like as an offensive line coach, I have so many ideas that I can mess with a defensive coordinator and unbalanced because like you usually only have one, maybe two answers. You're going to get into quarters and you're going to blitz me. And so it's like, I love unbalanced. So if I can't get it unbalanced, it's fine. But again, I think that formation, it has a clear picture for the quarterback to the trips.
Yes.
I think it kind of makes defenses calm down a little bit. Again, like you're going to see quarters a lot, right? Like if that mic is displaced, you're going to see a decent amount to the 3-by-1, to the 3 receiver side. If you have teams that play man, that's great. Like you'll see corners over. I think that formation, I think just shows a lot of pictures.
Yeah. You know what? Plow said that one time. And then once he said it, I started paying attention to it, and it's just become my formation. But like exactly like you said, man, it like clear pitch to the front side. One is the corner traveling. Okay, he's not traveling. Are they putting the corner in the post? Is the corner going to be in the fit? Like what do they do there? Now is the backer to the 3 receiver side? Is he in the box and the safety's rolled down, or is he apex? Like
you're telling me like in that formation, I can make a corner tackle like the entire game if a team like doesn't have an dude. Like, there's nothing better than that to me. I'm calling, like, again, I'm not saying it's my favorite scheme, but, like, one of my favorite schemes is pin and pull, like, tune up, because whether it's quarterback lead or whether it's running back, I don't care. But, like, that kid has to lever the football, take on a blocker. Like, that is tough to me. I also like outside zone right at that kid. If you have a 6'4", 245-pound tight end, make that kid get off that block the entire game. Or
you know what's the other formation I like? And it's only because it burned us was, you remember when we played UTEP and they just lined up in deuce, so you have the 2 inline tight ends on each side?
Yeah.
And we just didn't have any answers. I don't think we had enough bullets going in for our base package. But it was so hard. They just ran inside zone down our throat, or zone read down our throat. It was tough, dude.
Dude, I remember we were hurting inside linebacker or outside linebacker a little bit that week, and you guys were trying to, kind of mess with JL a little bit closer to the ball. And,
yeah, that's right.
Things
that's
like
right.
that.
Wow, you got good memory, dude, for being on the other side of the ball.
There's certain, especially when you lose a game and things like that. Like like you said, like there's certain stuff in my bank that you're like, you remember that? And I'm like, yeah, I remember that.
One of my favorite memories is, sorry to cut you off, San Diego State, when Dirk Koetter gave you your condolences and your medal for telling them about the split black, lining up and split back.
Listen,
how'd that feel, by the way, to just be crowned by Dirk for a second?
So Dirk is, again, like when you're a 26-year-old GA and you get to work with Dirk Koetter and he gets to talk to you about details, and again, like when you think you have all the answers because of I was blessed to be around Troy Taylor at Sac State, and he loved split backs when we were there because we had two really good running backs, and we had a quarterback who was an athlete. Same kind of situation happened to us versus San Diego State and Rocky Long defense. Like, they have that third safety, that middle safety, and they play their safeties on the string. That guy's a really good player, just point blank period. I'm pretty sure it was Patrick Morris that season, and he played for the Dolphins for a little bit. He was like a 7th-round pick out of Cal, actually, after transferring. Like, the point is, like, I don't know why, but for some reason that defense struggles with 2 backs, and I'll never forget that, because I don't know if they want to treat him as a third receiver or what the deal is, but I'll never forget that. And I suggested it during the week, and he was like, all right, whatever. Like, if it works, it works, whatever. He's like, we need a pass out of it. So we had like a little stick, and he was like, it was for backed up. If he was like, if this ever goes, Vinny, I'll give you, like, he said an absurd amount of money. I was like, oh my God, this will be the greatest day of my life. So we get to we're down like 14-0, and defense BYB forces a turnover in like the high red, like we're on like the plus 30 maybe, and he comes out in split backs, and we called read option, and Taylor reads it and pulls it and makes it explosive, and he gets a shoestring away from like a 34-yard touchdown or something like that. But we get to like the 19-yard line. We get up and he calls like a slightly different variation of it, I think, or maybe the exact same play. He pulls it again and walks into the end zone, and I'll never forget him coming on the mic and says, Vinny, if you say anything, I will personally come up to the box. And Coach Potter is like, I'll make sure he doesn't say anything. I'm like, the fact that you guys even acknowledge my existence in this moment makes me feel good. So
that's awesome. That's
It was
awesome.
good to
Well,
win
he
that
gave you a
thing.
shout out in the staff meeting the next day or sometime that week, though.
Yeah, he did. He did. Coach Koetter was awesome. He gave me a ton of credit. Like, and I didn't like again. It was
I
just
don't
him
know.
being.
I don't know if you remember, but I ended up losing my wedding ring during
I do
practice.
remember.
And remember, he was like, "I
Yep.
got $200 for whoever finds it," and
I,
Big John found it.
yep. I do. I
That
do
was
remember that.
awesome.
And again, yeah.
Talking a little bit of recruiting here, man. What does the ideal old lineman look like to you? I know you got three dudes, and I'm sure you recruit outside in. But what if you could break down tackles and centers for me? What's that look like?
Okay. You kind of cut out. The last thing I heard was what does the ideal O-lineman look like?
Yep.
Again, like, let me start with the four things that I always look for. I can't remember exactly which year it was, whether it was 2019 or 2021, but I was able to be around, I believe it's Coach Fry, who's now the O-line coach for like the Cardinals or something like that. And he was at UCLA at the time. I think he was at Ohio State. And I asked him, like, what do you look for in an offensive lineman? And again, he said the 4 Bs, the base, bend, balance, and burst. So those are like, he was like, if you have 3 of the 4, I can recruit you. I mean, that was at UCLA. So I was like, okay, cool. I can take that anywhere, basically. And then, I kind of have added a fifth is like brains, if you will. Like, I will never recruit a stupid offensive lineman. And when I say stupid, like, I don't mean like a kid who is ignorant. I have no problem with a kid who doesn't know, because if you're willing to learn, I'll work with you. I have a problem with a kid who is intelligent, but doesn't want to push himself to be all he can be. That is a stupid kid to me. And so again, those kids, I usually don't get along with, or rather not get along, but like, I don't have it doesn't work out between me and them. And so like that's what I say the recruiting tools I look for in offensive linemen are. In terms of the frame, you look for the 6'5", 6'4" kids with long arms at tackle. Sure, like that matters. But again, like really, if you're coaching group of 5 football or lower, like you can have a 6'3" tackle with long arms. I genuinely believe that. I do think at Power 4 football, there's no reason not to have a 6'5" kid, a 6 whatever kid with amazing arms and the beautiful frame. Like those guys are paying so much money that like it makes recruiting for us a lot different. When we like the kids that we get in, I truly believe that I recruit my length from high school. I recruit the best player available in terms of the portal. I have no problem with portal linemen. I believe it's an asset. We have a guy who came for us last season out of the portal from Central Missouri, Jonathan Dennis, who was the 5th overall pick in the CFL draft this year. We got a transfer portal guy this offseason, Ty Hilton from Florida State, who's going to be, at worst, a rotational lineman for us, who's going to play a lot of football and help us win some games this year. So, recruiting offensive linemen, like they can come from anywhere. And they can be any shape and size. Like I'm not scared to recruit a 6'1" kid. If that kid is the nastiest player on the field and plays with more effort than everyone else. So I hope that answered your question. Again, it kind of cut out a little bit. Does that answer it, or is there more?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Okay.
Is there anything, when you're watching tape or just throughout the whole process, is there anything unique that you kind of look for that might be indicators of athleticism or mental makeup? That example I always use, Coach Burrowball, when he was at Oregon, he wanted to see how offensive linemen got off the ground. Was it segmented, or was it exactly like what you talked about with burst, and is it explosives,
You just said it. Like,
Yeah.
in terms of to measure athleticism, good athletes do not end up on the ground. Now, I want to see offensive linemen on the ground because I want to see them finish and be nasty, and so they can have show some mindset. Like, that is a good reason to get to be on the ground as an offensive lineman. But if you're torquing people and throwing them on the ground and then diving on top of, that doesn't move me at all. But then again, if you're not ending up on the ground because you're not putting your face on people and, you're a pretty boy, that also is something I'm looking for. So, there's a happy medium, if you will, on the highlight tape, and then transitioning from that to watching games. And, I believe when you're watching games, like especially of offensive linemen, you should watch the game that is like the rival. Like, don't watch a game where he's going to beat up on old Jimmy that's 6'1", 230 pounds and doesn't have any offers and isn't going to be playing college football. I honestly hope I see him against a kid who's going to be that's committed to a D2 school, that knows that he's a big time recruit, that is about to try and torch his ass. Because then I can see that kid compete. And if is he going to complain, or is he going to be soft, or is he going to say, this kid's got some shit to him? Like, let's roll tonight. Like, that's what, you can see that when you go in person. Like, again, I love going to high school football games. Like, that was the best part about being in Division II, was every weekend, like I got to go and see high school football on Friday nights. But I was in North Carolina. I was able to see some really, really good high school football in the Raleigh area and the surrounding areas. So, this season, I'm definitely going to get, Ruston High is directly across the street from us after we're finished on Friday nights with our pregame meal and all that kind of deal. Like I definitely want to, they have like the number 16 tight end in the nation or the number 16 player in the nation who's also a basketball player. So I want to see that kid in action a couple times. So, I'm very blessed to be in the area that I'm in Louisiana. There's a lot of really good high school football within Monroe, Ruston. I can go up to Shreveport. It's an hour away. And so, I'm very blessed.
Yeah. In your opinion, I haven't had an O-line guy on here talk about this. Do you think that 7-on-7 and 5-on-5 tournaments, do you think they carry any value in reference to the recruiting process?
Yeah, absolutely. I think 7-on-7 is a great way for kids to show their athleticism, show how fast they are in a competitive environment. And do I think it should be the be all end all? No. Like if you're offering kids off 7-on-7, I think you are completely misguided. But do I think it can be an asset? Absolutely. A kid can improve his coverage skills. Like I think you don't get better at football without practicing and playing football. And so now I'll say this, I think those one-on-one, like those O-line and D-line camps, sometimes those are tough because no pads, and all I see is bull rush and torquing kids. Like who's out there really coaching them on technique? If they're getting coached at those events, then great. Like there's value in those. But, again, like I love the camps that the kids are in full pads, the team camps where they're competing against other squads and you gotta, like you're playing football with your buddies and you're getting ready for real football. I love those. I think those are great assets to evaluate kids. But, do I think that 7-on-7 should be how kids are getting offers? Like, no. Same track. Like, I don't think if you're offering kids off of 100 times, you are wrong because football speed and track speed are not the same. Does it translate and can they help? Yes. But like, if you just see a 10-6 or a 10-4, you're like, that kid's going to be a good football player somewhere. I don't believe that. Again, I think if you coach them well, you might be able to help them be a good football player. But, I don't think the traits that show up there should be the be all and all.
Yeah. That just made me think. We were just talking right there. So I don't know if you ever seen like the meme. I think it was from the Rapunzel movie. The guy's backed up against the wall. He's got a bunch of swords at his neck. And there are, the memes are always like, oh, say one thing that, would translate to you being in this position. Because you have a lot of great takes, right? And we've debated basketball before. And, I've heard you and Coach Price go back and forth. What does it take that you would have that would probably get you in that position? That you don't mind sharing on top of the podcast, and that it's okay for you to share on top of the podcast.
No, that's tough. That's because there's quite a few of them probably. There are some that are, like you said, that I can share on the podcast is important. So no kidding. Does it have to be sports related or can it be anything or do you want, what do you want?
Let's go sports. It doesn't have to be football. It can be any sort of sport. It's a tough one, man. Sorry.
This is tough. Well, no,
but the nice thing is I can just edit this out and then all it goes is from my question to your answer.
No, it's the thing is like I'm not trying to be funny. There's so many I'm thinking about in this moment. It's like I'm trying to think like, okay, like a controversial take about a player that I love, right? Like that's something that's what I think, like someone that people are like, dude, this dude isn't that good. Or I'm like, dude, you're tripping. I see it every time.
Give me, because this probably hits home a little bit. Let's take on Jaylen Brown getting bashed a little bit in the media.
Yeah, like I think a little bit of that is them trying to create a narrative about the dude. Yeah. But like, let me put it like this. I'm a Sacramento Kings fan because that's just where I watch. Like we lived in the city and that's where we I got to see them live. Like I love the Kings and what they have going, right? So if my team had traded Domantas Sabonis, DeAndre Hunter, and 3 first-round picks, whatever it would have taken to get the deal done, and Jaylen Brown is a Sacramento King, I would have been so fired up. Like I wouldn't have cared what it took as long as we had kept maybe Darius Acuff. And so like for me, Boston just had this dude have an MVP season without the guy that you love so much in Jason Tatum, whether it's because he's coming back from injury. I totally get that. I know how amazing of a player Jason Tatum is. Jaylen Brown's season, the question shouldn't have been, how do I make Jason Tatum like, the question is like, what am I getting for Jason? I'm trading Jason Tatum. Like maybe that's controversial. But the what I just watched from Jaylen Brown, I'm going to get a center around him who's a good player. that for all those threes that we're shooting and missing, like there's somebody that we can just throw the ball in and get a bucket when we need it. And then like, but that's if I'm breaking them up. I don't know if I even necessarily would have broke them up. I believe maybe it's my feelings about like Lamar Jackson. I mean, I don't believe Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. I don't believe those guys are in the same conversation as him, if I'm being real with you. That's what I think the NFL, that's what I got for you. The NFL top 100 list just came out.
Yeah.
I think Lamar was number like in the 60s or 70s or something.
What?
Yeah. There is never a time that as long as Lamar Jackson is in the NFL, there is never a time that he's not one of the top 3 players. I don't care if he only plays 2 games in the season. Lamar Jackson is, I will die on the hill that he is, if like we've never seen anyone do anything like he's done ever at quarterback. Not Michael Vick, not again, like, that tush push stuff that Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts got going for him, that's cool. Like, I think that needs to be out of the game. Maybe that's controversial. Like, I'm cool with quarterback sneak, and then like the play is going and you push the pile. The snap the ball pushing people, I think that's terrible. I think that is the lamest deal ever. You know, again, I could go on with
that's a good that's a good one. I think after your coaching career, I do want to see Vin with retired Draymond Green and old Stephen A. Smith going back and forth on the first day.
I would love, dude. I love to have opinions. Obviously, like I think everyone deserves a forum to voice their opinion. I love Twitter as mine. You know, that's again, I follow anime and I follow sports and video games. Like, so, I have opinions on a lot of those things, but, I am very blessed to have been able to be around a lot of intellectual people that have made it okay for me to have opinions. Like, I'm probably not as, high on certain basketball players as other people are. You're like, what? Like, well, I love other guys. And you're like, what? Like I think Kevin Garnett and like Tim Duncan, like, I don't think all the love that Kobe Bryant gets, I think Tim Duncan should get that. Like, that's what I feel about, like, yeah, maybe people are like, what? Like, what? Like, dude, the way Tim Duncan played basketball, I love Tim Duncan. Like, I used to watch the Spurs during the summer, like, win championships. That was cool to me. Not that Kobe wasn't great, but like, again, when they were winning championships when I was that age, Shaq was on the team. And so, again, like to be, if I was ever to have a peer that I could, be able to get into those debates with, and I would jump at that opportunity. I'm hoping I'm able to do this for, I just turned 31 in April, so it's been a few months now, but if I can do this from 31 to 56, and over the next 15 years, become a head coach and do that for 10 or 15 years, 10 or 12 years, and then transition to a place where I can comment and have a voice on the game, this game, and basketball and baseball. Like, I love sports, man. Like, it unites people, and it gives people a chance to be individuals. And I don't subscribe to the theory that you should all sacrifice your identity on a team. I love teams that have identity and have flavor and talk smack. Like, that is so fun. That's what sports should be. You should do it with sportsmanship, of course, but like, dude, like, I want to be in competitive environments. That's when I play my best. Again, that's what flow is all about. Like, how can I rise to the challenge that I presented myself with and make myself better? So,
yeah,
again, I'd love to do that to get someone that likes to talk about it.
Yeah. Any final advice on coaching, teaching, leadership for the good of the community?
No, man, you just said it. That's what it is. Like, wherever you find yourself as a coach or as a teacher, as a leader, whenever people are entrusted to you and what's best for them is your responsibility, you have to sacrifice what's best for you, whether that's time with your family, whether that's, money, like whatever it is. If you're willing to step into that atmosphere and to be that sort of person for other people, I do believe it is inherent, and it is something that people have in them from a young age. And, I do believe it can be trained, sure. But, being a leader is something that, it's something that you want. Again, it's something that is intrinsic. I like anime. I'll just bring up One Piece. Like, they talk about the conqueror's spirit. And what is that? Like, to be a conqueror, to be someone that would set aside their ideals set aside just about everything for their ideals, maybe except for the people they love. Like, that's what I want to be, is someone that, when they see a challenge in front of them, kicks the door and announces that I'm there, not like shyly. I used to, I slouch over, right? Like that's how I used to carry myself. And, now, like, I realize, like, you sit straight up, your
posture looks better, bro. I knew there was something different about you.
But thank you. I appreciate that. But again, like I heard LeBron James one time, like God gave me these broad shoulders so people can look at my back and feel confident and safe. And so, when I lead people, that's how I want them to feel. And that's what it comes down to for me.
That's good stuff, man. I appreciate your time, man. I miss you. I love you. I'm excited to see where you're at in 5 years, 10 years. Like you said, 15 years, maybe 25 years on ESPN, freaking talking some smack. But I appreciate you, man. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your insight.
I appreciate you, my brother. This has been a pleasure. And anytime you want to get a hold of me, you can get me on your platform, man. I appreciate what you're doing. Like to be able to have so many, great coaches. Like, I watched the special teams coordinator, Coach Collins the special teams coordinator at Boise State, Coach Collins. And, again, just the snippets that you take and post on Instagram, man, it's been inspirational. So again, I appreciate you. And thank you for having me on your platform and giving me a voice, man. I appreciate you. Love
Appreciate
you, buddy.
you, bro. Yeah, I'll turn this around by Friday. I'll shoot you a text on the side. If there's a picture you like that you want to use for the episode cover, send that thing over, man.
Awesome. I appreciate you, buddy. Thanks, man.
All right, bro. Take care.